Well, we heard there from a Subway franchise owner in Nova Scotia. It's been difficult to find people, business owners, directly affected by Kenny's decision, but we did manage to track down one gentleman with some interesting opinions on this. Joining us from Edmonton is Paul SCHUFELT. He's the corporate chef of the Century Hospitality Group. It operates 9 restaurants in Edmonton. He joins us via Skype. And tell me what impact you feel this moratorium on temporary foreign workers may have on your business.
Well, clearly it's going to have a negative impact on us in the long term. For us as a group, we focus less on this being our sole source of finding employment or finding employees, but it's sort of a supplement. Here in Edmonton specifically, and Alberta in general, we're obviously in a hot economy, and finding qualified and skilled cooks is difficult for us. So for the minister to just make this sort of broad sort of moratorium on everyone is going to have a negative impact across this industry, particularly in an economy like this, where finding any skilled labor is difficult right now.
So you use the program in your corporate restaurants to bring in cooks, and what kind of money do you have to pay to get a cook in Edmonton?
The range, it's usually based on experience, but it ranges anywhere from about $12 to $18 an hour. For leadership positions, it obviously kind of goes up into the 20s and so. But typically our foreign workers are paid on par or comparable to our Canadian employees, and we've never looked at this as an opportunity for us to overlook Canadians. We're frankly a little bit miffed at this point. If I had Canadians knocking down my door, or local Edmontonians knocking down my door looking for work, I wouldn't even have to explore the temporary foreign worker option. But unfortunately, our hand is a little bit forced at this point.
Jason Kenney today in Vancouver was saying that maybe businesses have to pay a little more, work at making their jobs a little more attractive to entice Canadians in the door. What's your reaction to that?
That's something we have to face. It's something that we've discussed. I actually sat on a culinary advisory committee this past week, and we discussed making the cook trade more legitimate. And much like being a plumber or an electrician or a welder, where you need to have a certificate to do the job, that just creates some legitimacy. It also helps to raise that minimum wage that you would pay that employee. But unfortunately, the industry is so. Where do you draw the line? Is it a service counter attendant at a Subway or a McDonald's? Is it someone in the middle who's a short order cook, or is it a person who's working at a fine dining restaurant or hotel? So there's always sort of been that gray area in our industry, unlike the plumbing, the electricians, the welders, etc. So it's something that as an industry we're definitely going to have to face. But we also have to consider the fact that we're a very small profit industry. A lot of people look at the restaurant business and figure we make 10, 12, 15, 20% on everything we do. The restaurant industry average for a full service restaurant is about 1.5% to 2% net profit. You start increasing salaries even by $2, $3, or $4 an hour, you go from making a small amount of profit to shuttering your doors. So in order to combat that, you're going to have to transfer that cost to the consumer. And then there's that sort of balancing act of how much more is the consumer willing to spend before they can't justify dining in your restaurants.
We have just half a minute left, but let me ask you this. You say you're frustrated with Jason Kenney's moratorium that he's announced. Are you frustrated at all by the stories you're seeing about fast food restaurants in places like Vancouver who are replacing lots of their staff, not skilled staff like cooks, but counter staff with temporary foreign workers? Has that created a problem for you?
I mean, this is, in my case of looking at this, it's one bad apple that has sort of ruined the bunch. I think this is supposed to be used as a program to help in times of need when you can't find Canadian employees. It should never be used as an opportunity to replace Canadian employees. And for that reason, I feel frustrated at those restaurants and chains that have taken this as an opportunity to cut out the Canadian employees. And that's certainly not our intention, and it's never been our use for this sort of program.
Well, it sure has been nice to have your voice in this conversation. Paul SCHUFELT in Edmonton, thank you very much.